Do you wonder what the hell is happening on Earth? We have those devastating earthquakes, we have alleged spy balloons being shot down, we have this escalating war in Ukraine, and nobody is looking for peace discussion and wants to end it. We have scandals after scandals, economical, financial, political, and they're all being swept under the table. We had a terror attack on the gas pipelines, and nobody's talking about it. Especially since the full moon and the realignment on February 5th, the world is even more upside down than ever before. If you feel by now that the whole world has gone crazy, well, I can only agree with you. Extreme opposites and polarities are alternating, giving us the feeling of being in a tumble dryer. But as always, chaos is always the beginning of something new. It marks transitions. Things dissolve so that new things can form and the horizon suddenly widens. What was tangled before begins to evolve. We evolve. While order is stubborn, rigid, and objective, chaos is fluid, fleeting, and subjective. And these two poles create a tension, and in this space between the two is the potential. And if you want to know what you can do to avoid getting lost in this chaos, watch the video to the end. But let's talk now first about polarity and opposites and what is currently happening on Earth. Since the full moon, the energies are more intense than ever before, and the icing on the cakes are these numerous extreme Class X solar flares that make life difficult for so many people. We fluctuate between strong aggression and anger and great fatigue, dizziness, lethargy, up to a feeling of illness. These are the polarities that rub against each other in the microcosm. In the macrocosm, the great upheaval in the collective consciousness is bringing all kinds of energy up to be transformed. And as Judith Moore so beautifully paraphrased it in her last newsletter, this is a birth, but it is not a troubled birth. The contractions of Mother Earth are so intense, and we are the midwives of the light of the new Earth. Consciousness is indeed a fascinating phenomenon that forms the basis of our human existence. It is the ability to perceive, think, feel, and reflect our surroundings. However, consciousness is not static, but evolves throughout our lives and even from generation to generation. The illusion of consciousness is described as a process of broadening and deepening our perception, understanding, and empathy. It is about freeing ourselves from our limited thought patterns and prejudices and raising our consciousness to higher levels. And this is exactly what is happening now, since we are entering the photon band with our solar system and thus experiencing an enormous rise in consciousness over the next 2000 years. In order to achieve this, we have to break the encrusted thought patterns, losing the rusty chains that hold us in the third dimension, and dissolve all the old structures in politics, in the economy, and in our belief systems, so that something newer and better can emerge. This happens through the experience of opposites, of polarities. The friction leads to the fact that the old structures break up and we recognize the truth and the potential unfolds. We are working on the final piece of our collective ascension right now, and as in childbirth, the pain intensifies until the moment when the mother believes that it is impossible for the child to pass through the narrow channel. And the moment she feels like it's not working, it needs to be pushed back, I need to go home. That's the moment when the mother has to keep pushing against her natural instinct, and right after that, the baby's head pokes through the pelvis and slips out, and it's done. We are slowly approaching that moment in this collective birth. So don't be surprised if you feel that everything is hopeless and unbearable. This is the moment when we must still hold on and not lose hope. It has taken us so many thousands of years to develop our consciousness from the lowest level of instinctive survival around us now to the threshold of the highest level of unity consciousness. The lowest level of consciousness is that of survival, which is controlled by our instincts and reflexes. The next level is that of ego, in which we see ourselves as separate from others and the world, and our actions are governed by our desires and needs. The next level is that of social consciousness, in which we see ourselves as a part of a community and our actions are governed by social norms and values. The highest level of consciousness is that of unity consciousness, in which we see ourselves as part of a greater whole and our actions are guided by compassion and love. This is the fifth dimension that everyone is talking about, and we are moving towards that. But to get there, we have to break through the fourth dimension, which feels absolutely chaotic, stubborn, tough, and difficult. And here we are right now, in absolute chaos where one feels almost hopeless. However, everything has its meaning, because the chaos is the vanguard for the new order. And just today, on February 20th at about 8 am, we experienced a new moon at 1 degree Pisces. A few minutes later, just before 9 am, Venus left the sign of Pisces and entered the sign of Aries. Endings and beginnings are intertwined, as there are opposing energies at play at this time as well. The call of this new moon is to trust the flow. We are in a period of resolution and renewal. Feelings of closure and renewal are present at the same time, which can lead to some confusion. Remember the opposites. The Pisces new moon invites us to reflect on what we need to let go of in order to welcome something truly new into our lives. Venus' simultaneous entry into Aries inspires us to place more value on the wisdom of our instincts and desires and invites us to be more spontaneous and instinctive in our relationships. New moons generally bring an energy of renewal and renovation, but Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, has a frequency of closure, culmination, and resolution. Venus' entry into Aries is another renewal and beginning-oriented energy. Therefore, these days we may feel torn between our desire to turn over a new leaf and the need to let go of something we have been holding on to before we can begin something new. We are entering a complex transitional period in which there is both an end and a beginning. Both happen simultaneously and merge together, reminding us once again that time is not linear. It never has been. As the astrological year comes to an end and a new one begins, the lunar phase ushers us in a transitional phase in our lives and invites us to fully trust its unfolding. Dissolution and renewal can again be seen as synonyms for chaos and order, two terms that are often seen as opposites. One stands for disorder, randomness, and confusion, while the other stands for structure, system, and clarity. In reality, however, chaos and order are often closely related and can influence each other. Chaos can occur in many situations, whether in nature, in society, or in our personal lives. One example is the weather, which can often be unpredictable and unpredictable by itself. When a storm hits, it can cause damage and wreak havoc. But at the same time, the rain that the storm brings can also help nature thrive and grow. In society, chaos can occur when people are dissatisfied or break rules and laws, or when we are on the brink of another ascension step. However, if enough people organize and fight for change, order, and progress, we can emerge from this chaos. We can really emerge into this peaceful time. And in the meantime, there are many of us who do not lose sight of the light at the end of the tunnel and make sure that we can push through the next higher dimension. As we strive to expand our consciousness and move to a higher level of understanding and compassion, we can create positive change as individuals and as a society. And if you want to know what you can do to push through the chaos of the fourth dimension, here are a few recommendations. The first and the most important one, as always, is practice Hara. I have a link for this video in the title description where we show you how to actually practice Hara, which is quite easy. You just have to know how. Then ground yourself. Walk barefoot as often as possible. For example, on a meadow or any other natural surface. This way your body can receive the electrons from the earth through the soles of your feet and can connect with the base frequency of the earth. Consciously choose people, places, and situations that are good for you and give you peace, strength, and energy. Let go of everything that is not good for you. Only say yes if your heart says yes. Stay authentic and stand by yourself. Because you are the most important person in your life after all. Be aware that everything on the outside is a game. You can throw yourself into the mudslinging and get involved, or look at the whole thing from the outside as a loving observer, knowing that all serves for a higher purpose. Don't go into the dramas and don't watch all the news. They only serve to scare you and spread negativity. Remember that you create your outer reality with your inner reality. So if you believe that the whole world is bad, you will experience the same in your daily life. If you're happy and radiate a positive aura, this will also be reflected to you in everyday life. So we are not victims of our lives, and we can influence our reality simply by controlling our thoughts. And last but not least, practice daily devotion and trust that everything follows a greater plan. As I said, you are not alone. There are many of us, and if you are looking for like-minded people, I invite you to come to the Telegram groups that I created and meet people who understand you and are living the same way of life that you do.